You're not seeing the world, you're seeing a guess. Your brain doesn't just sit back and receive reality like a movie on a screen. It's out there, actively predicting what's in front of you before your eyes even finish collecting the light. Everything you see is your brain's best hallucination, updated just enough by your eyeballs to stay tethered to reality. Not captured, constructed. Try this. Look around the room. It feels like your eyes are open windows and you're just observing. The chair is there. The table is there. The coffee stain you never cleaned is there. Simple. But what your eyes deliver is noisy, blurry, upside-down light data. It's your brain that flips it, edits it, sharpens it, and even fills in the blind spots. Literally. You have a hole in your vision where your optic nerve connects. But do you see a hole? No. Your brain patches it, Photoshop style. So even when you're seeing, you're hallucinating something close enough. Your brain predicts what's about to be there faster than your eyes confirm it. This is how you can catch a ball flying at your face without consciously processing every pixel. In fact, experiments show your brain often edits what you saw after you saw it, to match what it expected. See a weird flash? Your brain goes, that doesn't match the script, and rewrites it in post-production to make more sense. You get the clean, edited version a fraction of a second late, and you never notice the delay. Your conscious reality is a slightly delayed illusion that feels instant. If what you see is your brain's prediction, then your perception is only as good as your model of the world, which means people with different experiences don't just interpret things differently, they literally see different things. Your biases don't just influence your opinions, they shape your visual reality. And when you're wrong, you don't feel wrong, because your brain edited the evidence to match your expectations. You're not a camera. You're a magician who doesn't know they're performing tricks. This is what philosophers have been poking at for centuries. Plato's cave. Are we seeing shadows on the wall and calling it truth? Kant. We never perceive the world as it is, only as it appears to us. But this isn't just intellectual hand-waving anymore. Neuroscience agrees. You're stuck inside your own simulated model of the world, and it's good enough to survive, but never perfect. What's real and what you see will never fully align. And that dissonance, that's the human condition. You've had this happen. You're texting someone and misread a word, like ducking or your versus your. Your brain didn't read the actual text. It filled in what it expected. Same thing when you see a shadow in the corner and jump. Your brain screamed, "Spider!" Then reality caught up and said, "Calm down, it's a sock." We're all walking around with brains that jump to conclusions and then fabricate the proof. And most of the time that's fine, until it isn't. If your brain can hallucinate a chair, a color, a face, just from a guess, what else are you hallucinating? If you expect people to hate you, you'll see glares that weren't there. If you believe you're lucky, you'll notice opportunities no one else sees. Reality doesn't come pre-cut. Your beliefs are the scissors, and worse, you'll swear it's objective. You don't see the world as it is. You see it as your brain thinks it should be. It's a hallucination calibrated by habit, memory, culture, trauma, fear, and hope. But knowing this is power. Because if you're dreaming with your eyes open, you can wake up, retrain the model, rewire the expectation, and maybe, just maybe, see the world slightly closer to what it really is. Perception is a controlled hallucination, and you're the dreamer. Imagine waking up inside a dream, but never realizing you were asleep. Imagine living in that dream every single day, while calling it reality. That's perception. Not a mirror of the world, but a hallucination we all agree on. A shared illusion your brain crafts second by second to help you survive the chaos outside your skull. But unlike a dream, this one fights back. At its heart, perception is not passive. You are not a camera. You're more like a fortune teller, predicting, correcting, revising. Your brain doesn't wait for input. It guesses what's out there. Then it compares the guess to incoming data. If they match, you see reality. If they don't, your brain edits the hallucination and pretends it got it right all along. This isn't metaphor. It's how you see, hear, and feel every waking moment. We're taught to trust our senses. Seeing is believing, right? But that's a lie your brain tells itself to stay sane. Consider this. You hallucinate your own body. You don't feel your real flesh. You feel a predicted map of it inside your brain. That's why phantom limbs hurt. The brain's hallucination continues, even when the limb is gone. And the world you see? It's a 3D model, generated from a 2D image, flipped, colored, stabilized, all inside your head. The outside world doesn't come with colors or sounds, just energy, wavelengths, and vibrations. Your brain converts those into sensation based on what it expects to be true. This controlled hallucination model comes from neuroscientist Anil Seth. But it goes way back. In philosophy, it's been whispered since Plato's cave that we don't see reality, only shadows on a wall. In Buddhism, that the self and the world are both illusions. And now, in neuroscience, that your conscious experience is a story your brain tells itself to keep the body alive. You are a hallucination, hallucinating a self inside a hallucinated world. All very tidy, because this illusion doesn't always hold. People with schizophrenia can't filter sensory predictions, so the hallucination spirals out of control. People under psychedelics see the hallucination being generated as layers of perception melt and reform. In deep meditation, people report the boundary between self and world vanishing because they've momentarily stepped outside the dream. Even VR systems, those digital hallucinations, mess with the brain's predictive loop. Your vision says, "I'm flying." Your inner ear says, "No, you're not," and suddenly you throw up. The hallucination breaks. The dream flickers. So, what is real? If everything you know comes through prediction, what exists outside the model? Is there a true world behind the simulation, or just more hallucinations waiting? Maybe we never see the world as it is, only as it's useful to perceive. Evolution didn't shape our brains for truth. It shaped them for survival. You don't need reality. You need a working illusion. Ever argue with someone who seems to live in a different world? That's because they do. Two people can look at the same object and hallucinate completely different meanings. One sees art, another sees offense. One hears tone, another hears attack. The external world is shared, but the hallucinations are private, and when they clash, you get conflict, confusion, outrage. Not because one of you is lying, but because both of you are dreaming. The hallucination doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be good enough to cross the street, good enough to recognize a face, good enough to feel like you. But that feeling of being someone, somewhere, seeing something, isn't the end result. It's the starting point. The hallucination builds the world, and the self on top of it. You are not a passive observer. You are the author of your reality. But the pen is unconscious. The edits are invisible, and the story is always being rewritten. Perception is not what's out there. It's what your brain thinks should be out there. A hallucination made stable by agreement and fragile to the touch. And once you realize that, you'll never see the same again. Colors don't exist outside your mind. A lie your brain tells you every single second that colors are real. You look at an apple and say, it's red. But that redness, it's not baked into the apple. It doesn't leak out like juice. Color is not a property of objects. Color is what your brain adds to objects. All that's out there in the world is electromagnetic radiation, waves of energy bouncing off stuff. Some of these waves hit your eye, and your brain paints. It takes a wavelength and says, let's call this green. This one, magenta. Ooh, sexy red. But those labels don't exist in reality. Color is a perception, not a thing. Of course it feels real. Red roses, blue skies, yellow post-its. Our entire life is a coloring book. You trust your eyes because they don't feel like interpreters. They feel like windows. But the color of an object can change depending on the light, the context, even your mood. That red shirt in your closet? It's only red because your brain decided it was. In moonlight, it's gray. Under neon, it's crimson. Under stress, it fades into the background. Color is a mood ring for the brain. And yet, we never question it. We just assume the apple is red. Period. You know what makes this worse? Your brain doesn't even see all the colors. Bees see ultraviolet. Some shrimp see 12 types of color we can't even imagine. Our color spectrum is embarrassingly narrow. Worse, colors like magenta don't exist on the spectrum. Magenta is your brain fusing red and blue because it can't find green in between. It's a mental compromise, a peace treaty between neurons. So not only is color not out there, it's invented, limited, and sometimes fictional. Let that sit for a second. You're walking around inside a cartoon reality your brain drew and called real. Why does any of this matter? Because we trust our senses to define truth. I saw it with my own eyes is supposed to be the gold standard, but your eyes are liars, not maliciously, just artistically. They filter, edit, repaint. They build a story from chaos. And color is exhibit A. If the apple isn't red, what else isn't what it seems? How much of your world is invented just so you can survive it? Perception is practical, not accurate. Truth bends if it makes life more livable. Now we're tumbling into philosophy. If colors don't exist outside the mind, what else is purely mental? Is beauty a property of the object, or a hallucination shared by the observer? Is the world made of things or ideas about things? And if 10 people see 10 different shades of the same dress, whose version is real? Maybe real is just consensus hallucination. Maybe reality is what enough brains agree to hallucinate together. Here's a fun trick. Look at an optical illusion like the checker shadow. Two squares that are physically different shades look the same, or vice versa, because of surrounding light and context. Your brain edits the truth to make it make sense. Same with skin tones, sunsets, your favorite color hoodie. Your perception is a Photoshop file with 20 hidden layers. You don't see the raw file. You see the filtered final version. And most of the time, you don't even notice. Here's the brain-breaking part. Even though we know color is fake, we can't unsee it. You can't look at grass and not see green. You can't stare at the sky and think invisible radiation. Your brain doesn't give you the option. It says, trust me, it's blue, let's move on. It hides its edits so well, you forget editing happened. It's not just painting the world, it's erasing the brushstrokes. So here's the twist ending. That bright, beautiful, color-filled world you love, it only exists in your head. The real world is colorless, chaotic, and buzzing with invisible waves. But your brain turns it into a dream you can live in. A hallucination that makes sense. A lie that feels like the truth. So next time you see red, smile. You're watching your brain, painting the universe in real time. Sound is silent until your brain hears it. Here's the disturbing truth. There is no sound in the world. None. What you call sound is just vibrating air, pressure waves moving through space. The world itself, totally silent, like watching a YouTube video on mute. Those crashing waves, the dog barking, your friend's voice calling your name, those aren't sounds. They're events, movements, physical disturbances. It's only when these vibrations reach your inner ear and get translated by your brain that sound happens. Until then, it's all just wiggles in the air. But we hear stuff, don't we? A song can make you cry. A scream can make your blood run cold. We're surrounded by noise, traffic, birds, wind, people, all the time. So how can sound not be real? Because what you're experiencing isn't happening out there. It's being created in here. Your brain takes invisible air pressure changes and turns them into the rich, emotional 3D audio drama of your life. You're not hearing the world. You're hearing your brain's interpretation of it. Here's where it gets weirder. If sound needs a brain to exist, then what about before humans existed? Were lightning strikes silent until mammals evolved? Did trees fall in the forest, making no sound for millions of years, just patiently waiting for a brain to come along and invent noise? Yes, that's the horrifying answer. Without a nervous system to process vibration into perception, there's no sound, just raw, meaningless motion. The universe doesn't come with audio. Your consciousness is adding the soundtrack. This means you've never actually heard anything outside of your skull. The whole external world you think you're experiencing is actually a private, internal simulation. It's not just true for sound, but sound makes the illusion obvious. Your favorite song isn't vibrating in the air, it's unfolding in your mind. The scream wasn't out there, it was constructed in the silence of your cortex. You live in a world of hallucinated sound, and you always have. This is the collapse of naive realism, the idea that we perceive the world as it is. In truth, we don't live in the world. We live in models of it. Your experience of reality is an interface, a carefully constructed illusion optimized for survival, not truth. Sound is just one part of that trick. The world isn't noisy. Your brain is. You are the concert hall, the scream, the silence, and you've mistaken the echo of your own mind for something out there. Think about how this plays out in everyday life. You hear someone yell your name and feel a spike of emotion. But maybe they weren't yelling at you. Maybe they weren't even angry. You reacted not to what happened, but to your brain's version of what happened. Or, take music. Two people listen to the same song, and one is transported to tears, while the other is bored stiff. Why? Because sound isn't objective. It's entirely constructed by the listener. There is no shared sound, only shared vibrations. This is the ultimate twist. Silence doesn't mean the absence of sound. It means the absence of perception. And noise doesn't exist until a brain deems it so. The world isn't loud or quiet. It's mute. And you? You're the one generating the clamor. Your mind is a silent theater projecting vivid audio into the darkness. That song stuck in your head? It's not playing. Your brain is replaying pressure patterns it remembers, and you're hallucinating a concert from scratch. So here's the punchline. The next time you hear your favorite song, or someone calls your name, or you sit in silence and think, wow, it's quiet. Remember, sound is a dream. A beautifully detailed illusion created inside your skull. The universe doesn't know what music is. It doesn't care about silence. Only brains do. You are not hearing the world. You are hearing what your mind thinks the world should sound like. And that's a lot weirder and more magical than it seems. You've been lied to. Time doesn't flow. It doesn't pass. It doesn't even move. You do. Time is just there, like the pages of a book, all already written, all coexisting. What we experience as the flow of time is actually just the brain flipping through pages, pretending it's in a movie when it's really in a library. Physics doesn't describe time as something that moves. It describes us as moving through a timeless block. Everything in your body screams the opposite. You age, clocks tick. You remember 5 minutes ago and not 5 minutes from now. That's not just convincing. It's how you build a sense of self. So the idea that the past, present, and future are all equally real? That you're not watching time happen, but creating the illusion of its passage? It's not just weird, it's insulting. You feel betrayed by your own perception. Physics doesn't require time to flow. In fact, most of the deep laws of nature don't even care what direction time moves in. The equations work the same forward and backward. Einstein's theory of relativity went further. Your now is different from someone else's now. There's no universal clock, no shared moment. Time stretches, bends, and warps depending on your speed or gravitational field. Your future might already exist. Your past might never be gone. You live in what some physicists call the block universe, where all moments exist simultaneously. You just perceive a sequence. If time is a landscape, not a river, then death isn't the destruction of your moment, just your brain moving out of it. But that moment still exists, somewhere in the block. You still exist. Not now, but still. That might sound spiritual, but it's just physics. What you call change might just be navigation. What you call loss might just be relocation. The story of your life isn't being written, it's being read. This flips morality, memory, and meaning. If the future is as real as the past, are your decisions already made? Is free will an illusion too? Or are you the kind of being who experiences choice even within a fixed script, like a reader choosing to feel suspense in a book they've read before? Nietzsche would call this eternal recurrence. Block time doesn't say your life repeats. It says it never really leaves. It always was, always will be. Think about film. A movie reel contains every frame at once, but the projector only shows one at a time. That's how we experience time. One frame per moment, forgetting the rest exist. But they do. That birthday party you miss, that person you lost, that moment of love you thought was gone, all still there, just not in the projector's beam. Sometimes déjà vu or nostalgia is your brain trying to reach sideways across the block. You are not in time. You are a cross-section of something that extends through time. You are a 4D being, masquerading as a 3D creature stuck in a moment. But your full self isn't just now. It's every moment you've ever lived. When you meditate, or remember deeply, or dream, that's you slipping out of the projector view and into the film vault. You think you're your latest thought, but maybe you're the entire movie, all at once. Stop saying time flies. It doesn't. You fly through time. The landscape of your life is fully formed. And yet, it's only real because you make it feel real. You are the traveler and the timeline, the reader and the story, the dreamer and the dream. And maybe, just maybe, the only thing that really flows is your awareness. Nothing you touch is really solid. Everything you touch feels solid. The desk, the floor, your phone, your face. But what if I told you that you've never actually touched anything in your entire life? Because, at the atomic level, solidity doesn't exist. It's just an illusion created by electrical repulsion. When you press your hand on a wall, it's not your atoms merging with the wall's atoms. It's the negative charges of your electrons repelling the wall's electrons, like two invisible force fields bouncing off each other. So, that feeling of touch? That's just your brain interpreting resistance between two things that never really meet. Because your entire experience of reality says otherwise. You pick up a glass. It feels firm. You slap a table. It slaps back. You run into a pole. The pole wins. But that impact is never contact. Atoms are 99.999% empty space. If atoms were stadiums, their nuclei would be a grain of rice in the center, and electrons would be tiny mosquitoes buzzing near the edges. So why don't we fall through the floor? Because when you try to invade another object's space, the force of electromagnetic repulsion pushes back, hard. It's like trying to push two magnets together the wrong way. The closer they get, the more they resist. That's solidity. That's touch. But at no point do the magnets, do the atoms actually connect. This means your daily life is built on a lie that feels incredibly convincing. You think you sit in chairs, hold pencils, and pet cats. But you're not interacting with matter. You're interacting with force fields, interpreted by your nervous system as textures, temperatures, and taps. Zoom in enough, and your hand and the object it's touching are just two clouds of charged particles dancing near each other, never merging, always pushing. The entire physical world is a non-stop negotiation between repulsive forces. Solidity is a no-contact illusion. Everything is just hovering, violently, because we assume our senses are faithful translators. We think that when we touch something, we're getting the raw data. But this shows that even our most grounded sense, touch, is a hallucination, a simplification. Your brain isn't reading truth. It's reading pressure gradients. That sensation of a smooth stone or a sharp needle. It's not the stone. It's you, and how your brain reacts to the electromagnetic boundaries of something it will never truly touch. The world isn't solid. It's electrically hostile, and weirdly polite about it. Let's say solidity is a myth. Then what else in your life is just a user-friendly interface slapped over something wild and unknowable? Is love just a cocktail of chemicals? Is identity just an illusion stitched together by memory? Are you a body or a story your brain tells itself about a body? When you think you know reality, remember, you've been faking physical contact since birth. The most basic assumption you make, that you're in the world, touching it, connected to it, might be the most false. You're not in contact. You're in conversation. Think about texting. You type. They respond. But the two of you never actually connect, just signals bouncing off towers, rerouted by machines. Yet it feels like communication. Touch is the same, a feedback system. You press, it pushes back. No contact, just response. Your skin and the world are strangers pretending to shake hands, never quite touching, always interpreting the other through invisible signals. And somehow, that's enough. That's real enough. So maybe next time you hold someone's hand, realize you're not holding anything. You're hovering millimeters apart, tricked by evolution into believing in closeness. But that trick is beautiful. It means our brains care less about truth and more about experience. Not, is this solid, but does this feel solid enough to trust? We survive not by touching reality, but by convincing ourselves that we do. Solidity is not a property of the world. It's a negotiation between repelling charges, dressed up as physical presence. You've never touched anything, and nothing's ever touched you. You're a ghost, bouncing off other ghosts, in a universe of invisible boundaries and mutual resistance. And yet, it all feels so wonderfully real, because even if nothing's solid, your experience of the illusion is.